We all know, in general terms, of the importance of a good night's sleep. Many of the people with whom I work, whether they are in business on their own account or people at the top of large organizations, don't sleep the way they should sleep. Indeed, many people tell me that they wake up in the middle of the night with their minds racing. You can't live to the full during your waking hours if you don't get the kind of quality of sleep that an extraordinary mind demands. Now, what do I mean by that? First of all, our ordinary minds, the way they're wired, they run on automatic. We tend to live, if that's the right word, mindless lives, and they tend to regurgitate a lot of what happened during the day in the first part of sleep, and perhaps if we're lucky we'll get deeper sleep in the later cycle of our sleeping hours. That's for people who don't wake up roaring and screaming in the middle of the night. We know that the body needs sleep, but I've just read some research that is very important in the context of mental cleanliness or mental hygiene with regard to the extent to which sleep is important from a neural perspective. Research has recently discovered that when we sleep, or at least in the deeper cycles of sleep, the neurons and axons that make up the neural pathways in our brain shrink very slightly to allow the fluid that runs between all the neurons clean out the trash from the day just ended. Now, what do I mean by trash? Well, neural signals fire along the neural pathways largely through chemical interactions. Neurotransmitters fire from one neuron to the next in the daisy chain, and some of the stuff spills around the place, and therefore by the end of an ordinary day there's a lot of dirt that is built up between and around the gaps, the synapses between the neurons, and around the neurons and the axons. Sleep flushes all that crap away. Now, it occurs to me straight away that a lot of the world's great leaders, great business people, are reputed to not have needed large amounts of sleep. But if you think about it, quite a number of those well-known people have recently succumbed to Alzheimer's disease. And I would not be one bit surprised that if at some stage in the future it emerged that a chronic lack of sleep, in other words on an ongoing basis, was one of the contributing factors to Alzheimer's. Because what is Alzheimer's? It's a build-up of crap or plaque on the synapses, the gap between each of the neurons in our little neural daisy chains. The point I'm making is that you and I need a good night's sleep. Not necessarily of 8 or 9 hours, certainly probably no less than 5 or 6 hours, but it is the quality of the sleep that matters. And therefore I would suggest to you today a little tip, that before you go to bed tonight, and each night before you go to bed, you find yourself somewhere to sit down quiet, or should I say sit up. You can't do this in bed because you'll fall asleep doing it. And when you have settled yourself, you close your eyes and rerun the day's events as if you were watching yourself in the third person on reality television, non-judgmentally, simply running through the day's events, not saying to yourself, whoa, I shouldn't have done that, or I wish I'd said that, or maybe I could have done this better. No, non-judgmentally, as a casual observer, in the third person, you run through the day just ending. And what that does is it does a lot of the filing, the neural housekeeping, before you ever get into bed at night, and therefore ensures straight away that you will get a better night's sleep. So, I hope that little tip helps. I hope that we all ensure that through keeping our minds clean and pristine through meditating and through doing exercises like I've just suggested, that our minds become the kind of finely honed machines that we need them to be to bring us to where we want to go in life.